Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm a designer and a researcher, and my area of focus is on using design and technology to facilitate behavior change and human flourishing. I love motivation. It's the thing that gets me up in the morning, and it's the thing that keeps me going throughout the day. It's also the thing that gets you up in the morning and keeps you going throughout the day. I work with a variety of different clients, stakeholders, and a variety of different people. And what I notice is that we all have different ideas about what motivation is, what its significance is, and how we can most effectively motivate others. And that's what I'm going to talk about here today. So, what is motivation? Motivation can be defined as all the processes that give behavior its energy and direction. Just as there is no behavior change without action, there is no action without motivation. Traditionally, psychologists, economists, people on the street have thought about motivation as a unitary concept. We can have more motivation or we can have less motivation. And we probably all agree if we could measure the amount of a person's motivation, we could likely predict that person's amount of behavior. However, it's not the amount of motivation or the amount of behavior that matters. It's the quality of motivation and the quality of behavior, not the quantity, that truly matters for sustained behavior change. Let me explain it this way. We can be moved into behavior by a variety of different ways. We could be motivated to move by someone brandishing a whip that says, do this or else I'm going to whip you. That is motivation, but it's not exactly the best quality of motivation. It's a very controlled motivation. And when you are controlled in your motivation, within you is a sense of tension and anxiety that has negative consequences on your performance, on your engagement, on your outcomes, and on your well-being. You can also be motivated by internal things like interest, enjoyment, value. When you have something that you truly value, that you truly believe in, that is important to you, that motivation is right there inside you, waiting to come out and move you into action. The doing of the behavior, you experience a full set of volition, willingness, endorsement, and the doing of the behavior is something that you fully endorse and come between. So as you can imagine, this quality of behavior is a lot different than that quality of behavior from a whip. The prototypical example of this autonomous motivation is children at play, right? Nobody needs to whip a child to get them to play. That energy is right there inside them, ready. So I would like to posit today that important things to consider when designing products are motivational quality, and that quality is more important than quantity, as well as autonomous motivation being more effective than controlled motivation. And this distinction between autonomy and control is really, really important and critical to sustained behavior change. To further illustrate, from the 1950s to the late 70s, this was the dominant model of human behavior based on operant theory, and we still see it being used a lot in products and services today. What this model was based on was that people are motivated, their behavior is motivated by rewards and punishments within the environment. Now, I'll admit that this model's ability to predict behavior through rewards is one that works. If the reward is big enough or the punishment strong enough, you can get most people to do most anything. So the problem is not with the rewards. The problem is we rarely have that kind of control over the environment, and actually in the real world, people have choices. If they don't like the cage that they're in, they will often leave the cage. Right now in this classroom, you guys are all free to open up your iPhones, play Flappy Bird, whatever the heck you like to do. You can leave this cage. We cannot keep people in cages, and we cannot control behavior through rewards and punishments. So we need a new model. And over the last 40 or so years, we've seen that in the development of motivational psychology. We're now much more focused from thinking of behavior as something that's done to organisms or to people from the outside, to motivation from within, and how we can facilitate that intrinsic motivation and that authentic functioning. And this is what Richard Ryan from the University of Rochester likes to call the Copernican turn in motivational thinking. That shift from controlling behavior, from rewards and punishments, to facilitating intrinsic, authentic functioning through the satisfaction of basic psychological needs. Those basic psychological needs come from self-determination theory, the most empirically tested theory of human motivation since the late 70s. Again, developed out of Rochester University by Ed Deci and Richard Ryan. Their theory states that humans have 3 basic psychological needs we need to satisfy in order to thrive. And when we do fulfill these needs, our experiences of engagement and behavior are met with extreme positivity and flourishing and full-on positive behavior. Those 3 needs are the need for competence, or the experience of meaningful growth, where we have self-efficacy over the behaviors that we are enacting. Autonomy, which is the experience of volitional engagement, being in control of our behaviors and feeling like we are the cause of our actions. And relatedness, that's the reciprocal connection between people, caring for and being cared for by others. These needs are deep-seated adaptive needs that we have, and they fit really nicely within our biophysical and our social needs that we've learned, right? They complete a whole picture of a person, a holistic picture of needs. These needs, therefore, are an objective need, not just a subjective need. They matter whether we consciously value them or not. Like vitamin C. I may disagree with some of the side effects of vitamin C, but if I don't get enough, I'm going to suffer from scurvy. So why do these needs matter, and what can we do with these needs? In a nutshell, if we're trying to create the conditions of which a person is most willingly to engage in a behavior and internalize the value and the importance of those behaviors, we need to create designs and interactions that can facilitate and fulfill the satisfaction of the needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And we can do this through design. By doing that, we can also change controlled motivation to autonomous motivation through a process called internalization. That is, formally controlled motivations can be transformed into autonomous motivation if people are going through experiences that meet those need satisfactions: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. This can be represented as a continuum from controlled behavior and behavioral regulation and controlled motivation to autonomous. So way over on the left, and external, that's where that rat is, being controlled by rewards and punishments. From there, we have introjected, which is when we reward and punish ourselves for our outcomes and our performances. For example, I could feel really bad about myself and guilty if I give a poor talk and you all hate it today, or I can feel really great pride if you all clap and enjoy the talk and storm the stage after. Yes, thank you. After the talk, you guys are good. Primed. So introjection has a lot to do with self-imposed guilt and anxiety, as well as pride and ego fulfillment. Now, it's a little bit problematic because although it does get some engagement, it also does predict more unhappiness, more neuroticism, and people tend to quit or stop engaging in the face of challenges or setbacks over those folks that are more autonomously motivated to take on tasks. When we start to get into autonomous motivation, when we look at identified motivation, this is when folks have found a personal conscious valuing of the activities or the behaviors that they are doing or that we are asking them to do. They find it personally important. And again, when we have this importance, we are most likely to go along with any of those behaviors that are part of that value system. Things like running on a treadmill, not enjoyable in and of itself, but if you believe it has a value to your health and you value your health, you will run on that treadmill. Things like raising funds for a group that you find important, or that is an important function or a group for you. That's also an identified motivation. Not exactly interesting, but if you have identified importance or value, you are more likely to go along with that. To take that one step further, integrated motivation is not only do you value the activity, that activity also fits in within the rest of your set of values that you have. The activity is congruent with your sense of self, and it's integrated within your sense of self. This is where we start to transform not only the behaviors, the outwardly observable behaviors of a person, but where we start to transform the person themselves, right? A level 2 change. That's what we're looking for sustained change. Not just behaviors, but changing the person themselves. And then on the far right, intrinsic, which we mentioned before as play. And not only the concept of child's play, we keep that sense of play throughout our lives. Play with technology, we play cards, we play Dance Dance Revolution with our grandparents. So what I'm saying is that this difference between autonomous motivation and controlled motivation is a critical difference to think about. How do we reduce the methods of control that we use to engage people in behaviors, in healthy behaviors? And how do we increase getting to that valuing and that importance, interest, beliefs, fun, engagement for folks? So I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we do when we think about how to reduce controls and increase things that facilitate autonomous functioning. So we start by understanding our target audience. Through research, we come to really uncover what their desires, what their preferences, what their needs are, developing a sense of empathy for our designers that we carry through the work that we do. We allow people to be self-starters, so framing problems, framing journeys into health as it's that person's choice. We cannot force them into taking on change. So encouraging and offering choice. We try to reduce controlling language like shoulds, haves, and musts, instead inviting opportunities for invitation and more choice. When we do have to ask someone to complete a particular task, it's something that is a must-do. We provide a rationale for those requested behaviors so that the person might find that important and internalize the value of that activity. Designing for competence. We try to create experiences of masterful engagement, right, where people can grow and improve over time. We do this through providing optimal challenges, things that are not too easy, where they're boring and unstimulated, and not too difficult, where we have a high rate of failure. Feedback is huge, and creating tight, informational, actionable feedback loops is key to interactive systems and interactive products. We want to make sure that the feedback that we're getting builds on people's emotions so that they want to do more, increases their abilities so that they can do more, and gives them a call to action so that they can see there's actually more to do within this system, within this program. So I want to do more, I can do more, and you know what? There's more to do. And having those tight feedback loops with every input right there with people. Ideally, we work with machine learning systems that can adapt and dynamically change this feedback and change the difficulty level as people's progress changes. When we think about relatedness, relatedness is not exactly synonymous with social networking. What we really want to do is try to think about how we can enrich the lives people have with each other through technology, both online and offline. A little bit different than the way we frame our thinking about social networking. We want to set up opportunities and goals for collaborative goal setting, collaborative striving, so that every person's actions contribute to the larger whole, creating that deeper connection between people that are using our products and services. We want to make sure that content is delivered not only relevant, but also personalized to people. And when that content is delivered, using a tone that is empathic, warm, caring, using that voice and tone in the writing. A lot of work that can be done around purely writing copy, site copy, application copy to facilitate behavior change. It has a huge impact on getting people's buy-in and sustained engagement. So what does this look like in a product? So a product that we designed for a client is called Hot Seat. It's a mobile application. It's a behavior change game designed to combat sitting disease. So we all know that we sit too much, and no matter how much we exercise, the sitting has negative impacts on our health. So one way to do that would be to set up cues and triggers and simply alarming people, but we know that cues and triggers fatigue very quickly and they do not sustain activity or action. So we created a social game to connect people in order to get them up and out of their seats. So you do get an alert, but you can play the game and play the challenge against people that you care about within your office environment, as well as bringing in people from home. So let's look at how some of the specific examples tie into those basic needs support. If we look on the left, you can see that we support the needs for autonomy by giving people choice in the activities that they would undertake. You only get activity alerts for things that you feel comfortable and competent in doing within the work environment. So if you're not up for doing Gangnam style, in your open office, then that's cool. You'll never see that as an example, right? So no embarrassing, increasing the likelihood of someone to follow through. We also give people full autonomy over their break schedule, not only the number of breaks that they get per day, but also the day and the times that they're willing to be involved in the game. So complete control, complete autonomy, and complete choice there. When people finish an activity break, small 2-minute dose, they get some positive feedback that shows a bit of their quantified stats for the day. We also show cumulative data in the middle, so these long-term streaks, and we highlight best days and personal streaks to give people, again, that sense of accomplishment, but also a challenge that they can take on, again, that's an achievable challenge, right? Something that they can hit that they know they've hit before at another time. To think about that connection to relatedness, yeah, we are in our workplace, we are in our office, so maybe we are okay with playing on teams or social connections with people we work with, but maybe we're not that interested. Maybe we'd rather play with folks that are closer to us. So we designed in the mechanism to allow folks to invite friends and family and people that they're truly more closely connected with. Our client did a pilot with the American Heart Association, and we were pretty happy with the results that we got here. Basically, for the hot seat group, 2/3 of those folks got up to take more breaks than the control group. 80% of those people were fully engaged throughout the duration of the pilot, and 2 out of 3 people would recommend the application as a solution to their friends. When we look at features, you can see there's a strong correlation to autonomy. Some of the most popular features were those items of choice, ability to choose activities, not being forced into a forced march, for example, ability to set that number of breaks per day. It's up to me. We nudge you to get you up to the minimum guideline of 150 minutes, but that choice is yours. And people were adjusting those breaks over time. And then that ability to set the hours when the break. So you're not getting an alert at midnight or an alert when you're in your car commute or when you get home and you have to make dinner for your family. You can also see in the qualitative feedback that not only did autonomy come out, but competence and relatedness. So for competence, I went from planking to kettlebells to hiking. 2 minutes is a gateway drug. I can do this. Speaks very strongly to self-efficacy and building competence. And relatedness, great team builder, really bonded us and gave us a chance to laugh and do something outside of work. So making that, again, that personal connection. The challenge structure in Hot Seat is collaborative. So again, every person's minutes add up to a collective goal. So both dependent and dependent upon, a really nice design combination. So you see if you start to design for these things that it comes out in your testing and it comes out in your feedback, and you can start to be able to tweak or refine those mechanisms for competence, autonomy, and relatedness and adjust your designs over time. So to recap, motivation matters. Quality of motivation matters more than the quantity of motivation. Autonomous motivation is more effective than controlled motivation. Controlled motivation can be transformed into autonomous motivation through the process of internalization. Internalization is facilitated by 3 intrinsic psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Humans willingly seek out and continue to engage in activities that satisfy those psychological needs. This willing engagement is imperative for behavior change. So if we design need-satisfying experience, change happens, everybody wins. Thank you.